Northway. Well, you've heard of a coach tour. Well, this is a tour of coaches, continued. If you haven't watched part 1, you should watch it. Well, in 1948, the railways were nationalised, and British Railways wanted to standardise the coaches. British Railways had inherited a lot of coaches from the big 4 companies which had existed before the nationalisation. But in 1948 they wanted to modernise and standardise, so along came the Mark 1, and these are all passenger Mark 1s here. So if we look closely inside, we can see some of them have corridors. And when you're designating your coaches, K stands for corridor. That's because C stands for composite. Composite meaning a mixture of classes of first class, second class, or whatever. So if we look at this one here, we notice it's second class, because if it's first class there's a 1 on the door. So this is second class corridor, so this is going to be an SK. I'm looking at the oldest ones first. So these ones nearest the chocolate and cream are in the Great Western livery, and you can actually see written on the side there, Great Western. So these coaches would date back to the time when British Railways hadn't quite come into existence. So you still had Great Western liveries, but you do have the Mark 1 coaches. So going along the line, in fact what I'm going to do, I'm just going to nudge these along a little bit. The second coach there is the same as the first one. Here we have a buffet with first class accommodation. There's a very nice buffet car there. The fourth one is the same as the first 2. And the last one there this is a brake coach, because if you look at the rear of it there are no passenger windows, and we look closely we can see there's a corridor, and it's second class, so this is a BSK. So there are the Great Western Mark 1s. Well, the first livery that British Railways had for their carriages was the crimson and cream livery, which we've got here. That first coach is a composite. It's a mixture of first and second class. It's got a corridor, so that is a CK. This next one, if we can get close enough to look through, I don't know if you can see there, you can see right the way through, it's one of the coaches with a passageway down the middle and tables either side by the windows. So there is no corridor, just a passageway down the middle. So this is an open, and it's a first class, because you can see the 1s on the doors. So that is an FO. Well, I'm sorry, it's an FO. What can we say? So another first open. A very nice buffet car. This is a second class, And I'm just looking, yes, it's an open, second class open, SO. And a brake second open, BSO. So those are my Bachmann coaches, oh, except for the first one, which is a Hornby. But the Bachmanns love their details. They are super for detail. Well, following on from the crimson and cream livery came the maroon livery. So the first one there is a corridor composite, CK. So is that, followed by a Buffy car, another corridor composite. The yellow line, this was an innovation in latter years. The yellow line over the top of the windows was for first class. And here we have another BSK, brake second corridor. So these are the maroon coaches. Well, when we go into the BR blue period, which was just about 1970, plus or minus a bit, the coaches became blue and grey. This very light shade of grey, almost white. But on the first of my blue-grey Mark 1s, here is a corridor brake second class, BSK. Here we have a corridor composite, a Buffy car with the red line over the windows, showing it's a Buffy car. Another corridor composite, and another brake second corridor. to the Mark IIs. If we just peep inside, there's no corridor there. This is a second class open. Now some of them were tourist second open. So some would be SO and some would be TSO. It had to do with the way the seats were arranged. And I don't really know the fine details. Anyway, there are two second class open coaches there. Now the Buffy cars are still Mark 1s. You can tell a Mark 1 because it's got a flat, this bit here, the corner there is square. The Mark II, the corner here is gently curved. Here. So you're about to ask me, why haven't I got a Mark II Buffy car? Well, they never made one because they'd only just refurbished all the Mark I Buffy cars when they decided to bring in the Mark IIs. So there never was a Mark II Buffy car. Well, coach designation, anything to do with the buffet is R for a restaurant. And I think this is unclassified, which makes it an RU. Here we have a first class corridor. Another first class corridor, FK. And a break first corridor, BFK, at the end. The last three you can tell are Bachmann models because look at the detail. You've got the little first class things on the windows. You've got all the end coach detail, the C1 and everything. Well, these are Mark IIs with no windows that open because they were air conditioned. They also had tinted glass. So these were the Mark II Ds and Mark II Es. So they are first open there with the yellow line over the windows. You can tell it's first, and there's a one on the door, so you can tell it's first. Still the Mark I Buffy car, restaurant unclassified, I'm going to say, RU. Second class, probably tourist second class open, TSO, TSO, BSO. But they're all Mark II Ds because of the shape of the windows, you can tell. Alright, time to see some engines pulling these now.
Yo voy a cantar esta canción para mi gente. Con una pasión tan fuerte. Ay, 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 ahora sigo cantando y sigo gozando. Yo sigo cantando y sigo gozando.
Well, lastly we have the Mark IIIs with their lines on the roof there, and the very neat undercarriage. Yellow for first class. There's a Buffy car. There was once a tourist restaurant unclassified corridor which made it a TRUK truck. I don't think that's a truck. I think that's just an RU. Well, there's a second class one and another second class one. Well, these coaches have got 7 windows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which means they are not to scale properly. These are known as the Hornby Shorties. Now this one is a Hornby with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 windows. And I don't know where I got that one from. I bought a job lot on eBay once. But if you notice, the seats don't line up with the windows, so that's not good enough, and it's not the right length. The only one I have which is the right length is the Queen's coach, which has got 8 windows, and if we put those two side by side there, you can see the Queen's coach is considerably longer, and therefore properly to scale. Anyway, enough talking, now some trains.